Hey, hey.
Hey.
Good morning. Good morning. Hey, everybody. It's
Morning.
your girl, Dr. Rhonda. I am so excited to be back live with you guys again. Of course, I am the founder of SoulScribe. I work with amazing professionals, experts, right? Entrepreneurs, executives, professional service providers who want to become published authors and motivational speakers. Together, we work with my story to stage method to get them published and to get them the visibility that their story deserves so they can get on stage faster and easier. And so I've just been kind of pulling folks out of the woodwork lately, people that I've had the amazing opportunity to work with. And I want you to hear their story. And like, this is the story. Like, if you don't see any more stories, this is the story. I want to welcome Dr. Jenn of Fertile Fertility Science. She is my friend, my business partner, my client. Hey, Jen. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey. That is way too nice of an introduction. I am never going to live up to that. I'm so excited to be here, though.
I'm really glad that you're here. And I honestly just wanted to take some time and just chit chat with you about your experience writing your story. I listen, we met kind of by accident, right? You were like
Yeah.
in Hail Mary mode with your product, and we connected, and it's been like history ever since then, right?
My favorite, like, the fact that we have our meet cute is like, I hired you to tell me I didn't have a medical device. And you were like, this is my favorite when you do it, Jen.
I don't think I did it then because we were
You
still
probably
getting to
didn't do
know
it
each
then.
other.
You
But I think
probably didn't do it then. Um, but I had originally hired you, for your regulatory, and I was like, just, take a look, let me know that this isn't a medical device, and I can go on about my way. And hiring someone to tell you it's not a medical device, and they come back and said, not only is it a medical device, here's all the things you're going to have to do. I
right.
was like, oh, that's what I need in my life. Is someone who's going to, here I am hiring you for the opposite. And you're like, I don't care. This is what it is. And it was very like that's what I need. Then from there, it's just a love story of serendipitous, like things in our life that I got to learn more about you and your coaching and your books and your crazy inspirational stories, and just wanted to work with you however I could. And here we are, what, like 2 years
This
later?
is 2 years later. 2 years later.
2 years later, we are,
We still love each other.
we still love each other, um, especially after the last month working our
Yeah, yeah,
butts off.
yeah.
And
It's been a labor of love.
a labor of love. So from hiring you to tell me it wasn't a medical device to being, Fertile's chief regulatory officer and my friend, my coach, my business partner. It's been a beautiful, beautiful 2 years that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you.
Oh,
So thank
Jen, you're
you.
amazing. You're amazing. Thank you. So I think what drew me to you was your drive in that you're like, listen, this thing happened to me. My husband and I, we're dealing with this thing, but I'm just not going to let that be the end. I'm not going to let that be my story. I'm not going to let that be what I'm not going to let somebody just tell me what I can and can't do. And so you were like, I'm going to have these babies and I don't care if you want to help me. This is how it's going to happen. So, give us a little bit of background. Just give my audience a really quick kind of rundown of where you were, kind of this, your backstory of how fertile the device and how fertile the company came to be, and how much of your story you've kind of poured into your business.
Yeah, I was working in cancer research. I have a doctorate in biology and computer science, and got married. Was 32 years old. Was like, okay, I'm very type A, so this is the month I will have a baby. Um, 16 months went by. I was diagnosed with unexplained infertility and told that I had to go see a specialist. When I went to the specialist, after three tests in one day, they gave me an official diagnosis, which didn't even know that this was an official diagnosis of idiopathic or unexplained infertility. Um, then I was handed a neatly put together loan application to take out $10,000 if I wanted to become a mother,
Wow.
which was total BS.
Right.
And even though this was the most emotional journey, up till that point, not that you shouldn't listen to doctors, but I was going with the flow and listening to doctors and whatever. And I was like, wait, you don't know what's wrong with me. You just said unexplained infertility, but you're giving me a solution to an unknown problem. Like, scientists in me 101 says that doesn't make any sense. Like,
Right.
I can't just go along with this. And so I went home and dug into all the clinical research that I could find and found out that there was a less invasive option no one had ever offered me. And my husband happens to be a mechanical engineer. And I was like, hold my beer. Listen.
We can do this. Like, we can do this, right? We can do
It
this.
shows the same birth rate as what they were offering, but it can be done in the home and it can be done sterilely. And I looked everywhere. There is no one that is doing it the right way, that's doing it sterile, that's meant to help us conceive. So I ordered supplies from our lab, and the second time using our now patented, which it is in fact a medical device, as Dr. Rhonda told me, an assisted reproduction kit. The second time using that device in December of 2017, we successfully conceived my daughter, Lois, who is now 5.
Chloe.
We would go on to have 200 proof of concept kits, which is about when you came into the picture. We sold all 200 proof of concept kits in 90 days, and we have 34 other fertile babies in the world.
34 other babies.
And by the end of the year, Dr. Rhonda and I will be very excited to celebrate that. Fertile will be the first over-the-counter FDA-cleared assisted reproduction kit that people can try. They're struggling to conceive in the privacy and comfort of their own homes without a prescription.
I love that. I love that. I think it's going to be such a game changer for so many people all over the world. Like, it's just mind blowing. And so that story, that's a huge story, right? Like,
Yeah.
I took my diagnosis into my own hands. I took what somebody else said about me and I was like, absolutely not. This is what I want. This is the future that I can create. And you did that. So fast forward to we start working together and you're like, I need to write a book about this. And I said, absolutely, you do. And so we worked together. I think you were in my second cohort. Yes, you were in my second memoir writing cohort. And we started talking about the process of writing. So let's dip in a little bit because my last guest was like, she had a similar experience. She was like, I'm gonna write all this stuff out and I'm gonna send it to you. And I was like, babe, actually. And we had that moment too.
Yeah, so I hire you. We decide, we like the world needs a poster child who's going to go about and do this the right way, right? And so, like, we're going to get FDA clearance, but I'm going to have this time during this testing. I'm not going to be selling, and I really need to explore my story and tell it. And so I'm like, let's go, Dr. Rhonda. Yeah, I think it was your second cohort. It was get it done then.
Yeah.
And the first week I'm like, great. And then I sit down to start writing about my infertility. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, that's real. You want to talk about ADHD? I'll talk about my ADHD all day. Diagnosed late at 35. So I remember like the first thing I handed you was like, just kidding. You know how I signed up for infertility? My ADHD wanted to talk instead about my ADHD. And so I'm going to write on that. And you were like, that was probably the first time you're like, Jen,
Mm-mm.
I'm not letting you do that. And I was like, no, yeah, you are, because I'm not going to talk about my infertility. And you're Jen. Because it was hard.
Yeah,
And you know, had you not one, it was like a safe place.
right. Hiding behind the expertise, right? Hiding behind what
Right.
the stuff you can talk about easily. That is the default. Yeah.
Right. And the default too is like, okay, fine. If I'm going to talk about infertility, I'm going to go full on dissertation,
Yeah.
biology, science. Like you know, trained biologists, I was trained not to give an opinion.
Right.
When you write a research paper, you can't have an opinion. You can say the facts lend you to suggest this could be a possible thing that you haven't proved wrong yet. So therefore it's right until someone proves it wrong.
Right.
Instead of saying infertility is crushing me, I'm wrecking my marriage, I'm hopeless, I'm putting on this horrible mask every single day to try to get through the world. Um, that,
It took us a minute to get there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but once you open those doors, it's so healing and therapeutic to be able to because that's how you end up connecting with people. Because here
Yeah.
I am, like going through infertility, thinking it's the only one. The more of those little snippets that I let out, the more that other people were like, oh my God, me too. And these aren't just people, strangers. These were people I knew and were
Mhm.
friends with that I maybe didn't know had gone through infertility, because it was such an isolating thing that no one talks about. So, what ended up being, you know, this scared mindset of, oh my God, I'm going to be letting out, like, the whole world is going to be like, her body doesn't work.
Right.
Um, Led to probably the biggest connection I've ever had with the most people, um, because of the authenticity and sharing that. And that's thanks to you helping me get there.
Yeah. I I I remember how nervous you were. Like we went a couple of rounds, you and me, about what you wanted to write and kind of what you were willing to write. And you sent me a draft, I think, one time, and it was Dr. Jenn and all her brilliance. And I sent it back to you, and I was like, Jenn, this isn't you. Like this isn't you. This isn't the story that you told me that had us both, all in tears on the phone. Like
Yeah.
that's not the thing. And so I love that you allowed me to go on this journey with you to open that part of yourself up so that you could talk about it, because I didn't realize how much shame you were fighting and how much
Hmm.
embarrassment that you felt, because I thought, hey, you got a solution, you got two kids, it all was great, you got this this story. But going back to really tap into it really made you have to like take that high level look at what was I feeling, and what did that mean, and what was really going on, now that you're looking back on these things, right? And you can say, wow, I didn't realize that it was having that level of impact on me, on my family, on my marriage. And so over time we've talked about those barriers to sharing your story, being afraid that people would think, oh, I'm defective,
Hmm.
being afraid that people would judge, or feeling like people would look at you strangely, not and outside looking in, I'm thinking, wow, what a phenomenal person, what a phenomenal story. And I really appreciated the opportunity to take that walk with you, to
Hmm.
discover really that part that connects you to people, not just that you're amazing and you're fun and funny and all of that stuff, but this story that you have unites so many people, because since we've been working together, lots of people have come out, from celebrities to folks we know, who have had issues with
One in six
conceiving.
people globally. One in six
Yeah.
people globally will be impacted.
So this tells us that telling this story, ADHD, yeah, that's fine. Everybody's talking about that on TikTok, right? All the science stuff, that's easy. But the difficult stuff, the tough stuff, where people are hiding, that's the story that we needed to set on fire and hold up and say, hey guys, you're not alone. And I think, again, I'm harping on this all the time because I'm the signature story person, but that's the power of the signature story, is finding out that you connect to so many people because of what you have been able to do, in addition to what you've overcome, right? You've coupled that like so perfectly to create this signature story. So let's talk a little bit about what it felt like once you finally tapped into that story.
I think the best way to describe it, so when I first pictured Fertile, I pictured it on a box shelf and no one would ever know my name.
Hmm.
Uh, I the, Here you go,
Right.
infertility world. That was it. Um, Working with you and like tapping into that story. Um, I think the first time I really felt it, because we had worked on the book before I started crowdfunding. And when I started crowdfunding, I was like, okay, now I've taken a lot of the work we've done. Now I'm going to really share it, like outside of our, writing group. And I like to describe it as I started running down the road naked, and I thought everyone would be making fun of me, but everyone just started running naked with me.
Oh, wow. I love
That's
that.
really what it felt
That's
like.
a really cool analogy, though, actually. Yeah.
Because it was terrifying. I'm like, I'm just going to run down this road naked in my small town and watch all these people be like, what the hell is she doing? And
Yeah.
instead, they joined me and were cheering me on. And we're like, okay, we'll get naked too. Here we go.
Right.
Um, that and 433 people put $630,000 of their hard-earned money to help me keep running naked down the street.
Mhm.
And the more I was genuine and authentic, the more freeing it was for me,
Mhm.
um, because it wasn't this secret I was hiding. Because keep in mind, too, before this, I'm a biologist, I'm a scientist. If I can't reproduce, that's the very basis of biology.
Right.
So,
Right.
like, what was my identity? Am I a biologist if I can't produce
Wow. Yeah.
biology? And so it was my career, my personal life, everything. But the more I talked about how much I feared and how much it hurt and how much it sucked, and I was scared that, like, do I even have a uterus at 30 years old? The more people were like, oh my God, I thought that too.
Mm.
Um, and it was weird. It was weirdly comforting. The the more I got out of my own head and was like, I'm just going to share what it was like, the more other people are like, oh my gosh, me too. Um, so yeah, that's my weird analogy. I don't know how else to describe
I
it.
love that, though. Like, because that's really what vulnerability is, right? It is the willingness to be naked in some way, your emotions, your feelings, the stuff that you don't want people to know or see, to just say, okay, here it is. And that is scary because you don't know what they're going to do, right? Your
Right?
initial reaction was to think, hey, they're going to laugh at me, or they're going to think, wow, what a weirdo. And
Yeah.
to then give people the empowerment, the courage to do the same thing and say, yeah, guess what? Same with me. And I'm with you. And they take off
Mhm.
whatever is holding them back and they start sharing their story. And now we have kind of this cascading effect, because the more people who are able to feel empowered by what you've done, who are able to feel connected to the work you're doing, it just grows. It just continues to grow. And so this story,
Yeah, it's a feedback loop, you know?
yeah,
I get I mean, I remember it was like the end of December, all of a sudden I get an email that was like, "I've been waiting 10 months to share this. Here's my fertile baby."
uh-huh,
And like even saying that, I'm about right, and I'm like, "What? How,
yeah, yeah. I remember those emails. You're like, Rhonda,
you
we have
know?"
another fertile
And
baby.
I was like,
Yeah,
"1, how dare you? I wanted to be part of the entire pregnancy." No, um, I was like,
like I'm
Auntie
honorary
Jen
auntie.
wants
This
to
child needs to know
I
me.
was like, "I want to be part." I was like, "But I respect it." No, it's just and that, like, it's just all of these stories that are so similar but so different than
Right.
mine from all these different types of families that are all it's cascading and it's growing and it's beautiful, and 2024
It's gonna be great.
is gonna be the hopefully the fertile baby boom,
I think
and
so.
also a lot of women are going to feel a lot more empowered to take control of their fertility journey.
I know they will. I know they will. I want to talk about, and we've talked about how your story has helped you to create impact with other women and couples, whoever, because it's not just women, right? But other
Hmm.
people who have been having this same sort of journey to become parents or to expand their families. And your story, your signature story, and your sharing that has been either a source of encouragement for them or a way for them to find a solution they didn't have in the past. Let's talk about now where that story has taken you, because you've been on some major stages and in front of some major folks, and you have stood out in ways on those stages that others have not. And it's because of that signature story. So share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was selected as a finalist for South by Southwest this past
Huge,
year.
like major, major.
So it's just an incredible experience. Can't even, my husband and I got to go there, and I got to, here I went from infertility is my secret story. I specifically I remember you telling me you're gonna be in lights, and I was like, I don't know what this lady's to standing in lights
Right.
on the South by Southwest stage with a huge sign that says I am infertile behind me as part of my slide deck, along with a picture of my daughter. And it was one of the coolest, most powerful moments.
Yeah.
I've since went to Life Science Intelligence conference and spoke. And actually, last week I was in a femtech um, pitch competition where I got up and spoke in front of a bunch of people in the health tech and femtech space who are trying to empower women's health to move forward, sharing that story. So probably, a couple thousands of people heard me speak and say that this year alone, which every time I get the chance to, I'm so grateful for it because I know every single person in there. It's 1 in 6 people. Like, this
Right.
isn't some rare disease. I know even if they never come up and talk to me, that someone there will know someone or personally be connected to the story.
Yeah.
And people have been waiting for me when I got off stage crying. Um, and it's beautiful. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know how to describe it, especially some of these conferences are medical based, so I
You
might
got all
be
professionals, right? These aren't
right.
just,
I might be like giving a
yeah.
speech after like a new spinal implant. And then I'm like, hey, I went through infertility. Um, And then remember this one, I got off stage and there was just a line of like 10 people. And the first two women just had tears in their eyes. And they said, where were you, when we were going through this? And the coolest thing they said next is, what do you need?
Mm,
Let's do it. And I never, the power of just women wanting to come together. I mean, people, but women specifically reaching out and being like, went through it. What do you need? How do we get on board? Um, Again, stripping off their clothes to run naked down the street with me,
Right. Yeah, for sure.
after a few minutes of meeting me. So that story has really changed my life, and it's helped create other lives.
It has. It doesn't surprise me. It blows me away. It makes me feel so good when I hear you tell me these stories, when you come back from your talks or from your pitches and you're like, you won't believe, who came up to me and what they said, men, women, like everybody's coming up to
Mhm.
you, talk to you. And it's always so moving because I remember, like you're in the moment, but I'm remembering when we had those talks and I'm like, Jenn, this is a story that you've got to tell. And you're like, I'm not getting on stage. I don't care what you say. I'm not doing it.
No one
And I'm like,
wants to hear this. Why would I tell everyone
like, I'm not
that my
doing this.
business doesn't
So stop
work?
asking. Yeah,
Yeah,
stop
it's like I'm
asking
not.
altogether. Just this is a no. Like this is a hard stop. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Jenn, writing the book, writing the story isn't enough. This thing can't sit on a shelf. Like, what are you gonna do? People have to hear it. And you were like, oh well, I have a group, and I'll talk about it in the group. And I'm like, no, this is one of those things that your story and you belong in the spotlight because you are destined to change things. And I think that reminded me like of a conversation we had one time, and I said, Jenn, you're destined for so much more than you think. And you just kind of were like, okay. And I was like, you don't see it yet. But
Mhm.
that story is not one that can just be contained because it deserves it. It screams, share me. And so you are another one of the folks I have just loved working with. I love working with all my clients, but this has been one of those journeys where I have literally watched you go from I'm not doing this and I don't want to do it to,
You
to
can't tell me
on
what to
stage
do.
in front of,
Hello,
multimillionaires.
world. I'm infertile. Welcome. I
That
know.
transformation was really, really major.
Just a little bit.
Just a little
Yeah,
bit.
there would have been a point if you would have said, Jenn, I'll pay you what you need for FDA clearance to get on stage and tell your story. I'm like, no.
Not doing it. Not doing it. So
I think a
the
lot of the
impact of,
mind,
sorry, go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say the mind shift that you helped me with was getting out of my own head, because yes, it's my story, but I selfishly, I'm an extroverted introvert. So I'm like, um, it's not that I don't want to share, but I also am like, yeah, I don't need the spotlight. But when I working with you was like, this is my service to help others. And what when I was in this position, I didn't want to feel alone, and I wanted something that would help me feel control again over my infertility. And it's now like such a higher calling
Yeah.
that it would be selfish of me to not share my story,
Yes.
because I know that it can help people.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's there it is. I mean, that is the heart of the folks that I work with, right? It's not people who just want to tell some story or just write some book. These
Mm-mm.
are people who have to share the stuff that they've been through. You didn't go through that, as I often say, for the PTSD and the therapy bills. You went through it
Mhm.
because somebody needs to hear your story so that they can know that what they're going through is not going to be this way forever, or that whatever they're trying to do, you've done it and they can do it too. It's this way of sharing with people and empowering them to do more and be more than they ever thought they could. And I think you're such an amazing example of that, because I don't think that you would have come to that conclusion without coaching and without having those tough conversations and without having somebody to push you and say, no, you really can
Without
do
Dr.
this.
Rhonda, you're right. I absolutely would not have. I know
Yeah.
that I would not have.
Yeah. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
husband can back up that I wouldn't have. You know him.
So I just I'm so just excited for all of the stuff that's happening for you. I know that Fertile is on to big things before the end of the year, and I can't wait.
And I'm
And
so
so
grateful to you and for your coaching. And of course, I had to, snag all of the skills that I could out of your multi talented toolbox. But
absolutely.
anyone who has the chance to get on your calendar and coach with you is better giddy up. Like not for the faint of heart,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
But
do it.
it's a must do, right?
But do it.
You gotta
But
do
you
it.
need to do it.
Yeah, you got to do it because if I know that this is a process that if you're called to go through it, you got to have me holding your hand. You got to have somebody holding your hand and bringing you from where you are to where you want to go. So I am appreciative that you trusted me to go through the process with you and to be part of your journey. It has been absolutely a fun ride. Your children are adorable. I love them. They're hilarious because Lois, she's like, don't want to talk to you today.
She's busy. Lois is busy.
It's busy. I want to talk to you today. I love it. Thank you, Dr. Jenn, for
Thank you,
agreeing to
Dr.
chat with
Rhonda.
me today. I appreciate it. How can folks connect with you if they want to know more about you, if they want to book you for a talk? How can they connect with you?
Absolutely. My email is Jenn, Jenn, at fertile.com, PHERDAL.com. I also offer consultations on our website. Would love to come speak, share my story wherever I could. And all the socials, we're at Fertile Science. So please reach out, connect. And you need Dr. Rhonda to help you share your story. Because the person I was 2 years ago is not the person I am today, and that's a beautifully great thing. And thank you, Dr. Rhonda, for empowering me to speak up, which I know will help so many more.
Thank you,
And we're
Jen.
doing
I
it together.
appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, for you guys, if you want to be the next success story, you need to get your story out there. You need to get it told. You need to reach out to me. You need to contact me. Go to meetwithdrrhonda.net. That's the quickest way to do it. Select a time on my calendar and let's talk about how I can help you get your signature story written so that you can get on stage making a difference, that you're making the difference you're supposed to make, right? So you can get on stage faster and easier. So again, thanks to Dr. Jenn, and I will see you guys next time. Take
Rhonda.
care.